One of the hassles about this job is that you have to think a couple of years in advance, sometimes 3, because of the nature of the stuff we're doing. A lot of it's grafted, a lot of it is very slow, as I'm about to show you. You get to my age, you think, well, I might not bloody well be here in 2 or 3 years. But then, does it really matter? You're still doing something you like doing. Although, on the back of the last summer and this spring, I'm not so sure I'm liking it as much as I did. It's been a hard time, and I don't think it's going to get any easier. I don't know whether it's weather patterns or what it is. I don't suppose it matters a bugger really, does it? What will be, whether it's man-made or climate. We just have to deal with it. But anyway, one of the things we do have to do is keep things coming through the pipeline. So we have a lot of things coming through now that are going to be around in a year or 2 for my customers to spend their hard-earned money on. So, you have a look at them. I think they're quite nice. These little beauties, these are old Anemone nemorosa. This is a variety called Vestal. It's double flowered. You just need to bulk things up. If you sold them all at the moment, you would have no stock for the future. But this is one I need to bulk up for a year or 2. And we're into the 2nd year now, so this should come online. I sound like a twat. This should be available to my customers next year. It's a lovely little thing and really, really easy to grow. That's Anemone nemorosa Vestal. Another little beauty is this little Primula. You can see the little scalloped silvery leaves. This is one called Kushima Krishana, I think. It's quite new, so I'm just trialling it. I've had 10 little pots of it, and they've stood the winter. So I should be having another little look at this. I just need to see how it behaves. Plant it out. One of the delights of nursery work is that you just find things out all the time. In the back there is an Epimedium with long lanceolate type leaves, prickly at the edges. I think it's called Sphinx Tinkler. Somebody the other day called it, what was it? Sphincter Tickler. But I've yet to, it's another thing I need to little look at. Unbelievably strange leaves. Epimediums are generally heart-shaped leaves. Although it's not a new plant, coming along are these little Veratrums. Veratrum nigrum, this. You can see the pleated leaves. When I was a kid, older women used to wear these pleated skirts. I think they sort of came from Marks and Spencer's or somewhere. This plant always reminds me of those. Generally they had fat asses with a sort of ledge on the back. I think the pleated skirts used to accentuate that. But I'm digressing here, it ain't nursery work that, is it? But these plants have taken me about 3 to 4 years to get to this height. They're such little bastards to do. Eventually they'll make great big clumps. These large pots of Trilliums. Trillium chlorophyllum. You can see the red flowers on the top. There's a couple more over the back. There. They take so long. These have taken me to about 7 or 8 years to get to this stage. However, this is about plants in the pipeline. Orchids. I think we've had a look at them before. They haven't come out in flower yet. You can see the spotted leaves are really starting to develop. It's a Marsh or bee orchid. Dactylorhiza fuchsii. Really spotty. I want good money for those, but they are in the pipeline and I'm trying to breed them up. As I am with the Ovularia grandiflora. But getting back to the Trilliums, here are some pots coming along. Again, we're into about 4 years now. This is why Trilliums they're so expensive, because they take so long. I have to keep on and on with them all the time. Now this is a plant that I can't get enough of. It takes so long to do. Again, these little plants that are about 3 years old. This is a peony, Peonia mlockosviciana, or to give it its common name, Molly the Witch. Again, I try and do about 30 a year to keep a continuity of plants coming through. But it is a long, drawn-out process. They are not easy. Well, it's been out a number of years. The Astrantia, Sunningdale variegata, or Sunningdale variegated. It's a lovely Astrantia, white, green-tipped petals to the flowers, and again, it's a really strong grower if you can get it growing. So many times on garden centres and nurseries, if ever you do see it, which is very, very rare, you just see some pissy little plant in a soaked pot. You need to get a really good sized pot of that to get it going well in your garden. And at the back is some Lily of the Valley. It's a variety called Bordeaux. And there's the primulas, the lovely white, gear white, Innisfree at the back, dark foliage, red flowers, fully hardy. You can break that into several pieces every year. As long as you're not really selling it, you're fine. And there is the lovely dark Rosalind, another of the dark leaved primulas, with these lovely, I don't know how you would describe them, they sort of have like a light pink cross. Almost you can get pinks that are that sort of colour combination, some of the old-fashioned border pinks. Earl of Essex, Queen Henry. Brunners always look great. Grow them under a tree or under a shrub or just an old bordery piece of ground. Look at that. Sprays of forget-me-not-like flowers. This is a variety called Looking Glass. The leaf, as it gets older, develops a nice silvery sheen to it. I have to get up to this garden to clear up a little bit. It's a bit weedy and I have to get the hoe out. And here I've planted one of the last remaining of the Barnhaven strain of primulas. Look at this. This is a variegated primula. I don't have a name for it, but I just really, really like this. And I'm not a great lover of variegated plants, usually, but I think this is going to be a real winner. And lastly, just to have a look at something I planted out. This is the old Centaurea. I've forgotten the common name for it now, but this is a golden leaved form. You see, it's like a perennial cornflower. Look at the foliage colour on this. Centaurea montana, aurea. That is just so stunning. Good Lord, look at that. I've almost got a stiffy. Oh, that's a very naughty thing to say. Yeah, I really like some of that stuff. It's a pleasure to grow. And I'm even looking more forward to selling it. Not all of it. And the good thing about here is I'm at Plantsman's Corner at the moment, and we can at least trial stuff out here, and that's very useful, because there's nothing worse. All these new plants come online, or they come available to nurserymen. A lot of them come from Terra Nova plants in America, and we don't know whether they're hardy or not, really. We only have their word for it. Years ago, if you had a nice hookerer, for example, you would bulk it up, you chop it into pieces, and you might get 10 pieces at the end of the year, and the year after that you'd maybe have 30 pieces, and the year after that you'd have a couple of hundred, and it would work like that. In the course of that, plants trialled themselves. If they weren't hardy after the first or second year, there weren't nothing to propagate from anyway, so they tended to get selected out. These days we have micro-propagation, and you have an unusual form, and you can do thousands of them in a year. Nurserymen like me have to pay a royalty, and we're not allowed to propagate them. But they haven't had any trials done. So you come along, you spend a 5 or 6 quid on a hookerer, for example, you don't know whether that's going to live or die. Some of them, it's just so difficult, and they haven't stood the test of time. There's a big program with Echinacea a few years ago, you know, the purple coneflowers, the coneflowers, and they brought out hundreds of them. And there was one variety called Art's Pride. A lovely thing, looked like a gerbera almost, and lovely orange colour, very unusual. But the bastard kept dying, and it wasn't until I found out that there was no trials done on it. Anyway, it isn't about anymore. I think they've given it a different name. They do that a lot where PBR is concerned. Where there's money, there's trouble. Years ago they used to say to me, where there's something, there's controversy. It was a word that began with C, but I can't remember what it was. But I don't think it was a polite one. It's much the same with money, I reckon. Wherever there's money, there's trouble. Bugger, innit? Yeah, I've got all bloody philosophical on there. I hope you're not going to do all of that. I look like a twat.